Welcome, everyone. If you'd join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll get the meeting started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome, everyone. Tonight we're pleased to recognize numerous outstanding students and school recognitions. 5 students with a perfect score in the ACT, Energy Star Building Certification, State Sports Champions, Step Team, Dance State Championships, Scholar Bowl, and Robotics. First, I would like to welcome Deputy Superintendent Dr. Tiffany Holman-Bess. And I think, Matt, we're going to go up and you're going to lead us.
Good evening, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, Dr. Marty, Mrs. Stover, members of the Board of Education. 5 Parkway students scored a 36, the highest possible score on the ACT College Admissions and Placement Exam. They took the ACT in April. Nationally, while the actual number of students earning the top score varies from year to year, on average, fewer than 1% of students who take the ACT earn a top score. In the United States high school graduating class of 2022, only 3,376 out of 1.3 million students who took the ACT earned a composite score of 36. The ACT consists of tests in English, mathematics, reading, and science, each scored on a scale of 1 to 36. A student's composite score is the average of the 4 test scores. The ACT is a curriculum-based achievement exam that measures what students have learned in school. Students who earn a 36 composite score have likely mastered all of the skills and knowledge they will need to succeed in the first-year college courses in the core subject areas. ACT scores are accepted by all major 4-year colleges and universities across the United States. Students, please come forward to be recognized as I call your name. From West High, Krish Baguette. From South High, Shri Koya. Jason Zhao from West High. Ethan Oyihara from West High. And Matthew Whaling from Central High. Congratulations to all our students and their families on this amazing accomplishment.
Next, please welcome Lindsay Elliott, Sustainability and Energy Coordinator, to the podium.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to celebrate the achievement of our schools in the area of sustainability. It's my pleasure to congratulate 10 Parkway schools on achieving the 2022 Energy Star Building Certification. These awards were received for energy use during the 2021-2022 school year. To achieve this certification, a school must earn an Energy Star score of 75 or higher on the EPA scale of 1 through 100. Indicating that it performs better than at least 75% of similar buildings nationwide. A way that our students and teachers help keep energy use down include keeping appliances, computers, and lights turned off when not in use. Each school is receiving a certificate of achievement, a letter of recognition from the EPA, and an official Energy Star window decal to display that also states the number of years certified. I will read the names of each of the schools that we are celebrating. Please come forward to receive your award if you are representing your school and in attendance tonight. Oh, it's already up there. Look at that. So our first school is Carmen Trails Elementary, 7 years certified. Central Middle, 5 years certified. Craig Elementary, 7 years certified. Green Trails Elementary, 5 years certified. McKelvey Primary, 2 years certified. North High, 2 years certified. Northeast Middle, 9 years certified. Hopefully you get that 10 next year. River Bend Elementary, 6 years certified. Shenandoah Valley Elementary, 3 years certified. And Sorrento Springs Elementary, 2 years certified. Again, if you're here tonight and would like to accept your packet, please come forward. I'd like to give a final congratulations to these 10 Parkway schools on their achievement. Please continue your hard work in energy efficiency so that we can increase our sustainability efforts, and hopefully we'll have even more to congratulate next year. Thank you.
Next, please welcome Corey Johnson, the District Athletic and Activities Director, to introduce our state sports championship.
Good evening, Dr. Marty and President Todd. On behalf of the Board of Education, it is my honor and privilege as the Director of Activities and Athletics to introduce our state champions from our winter and spring seasons. So tonight we're recognizing members from the Parkway South High girls wrestling team, girls swimming team, and also the girls track team from South, and then our dance team from South. So quite a bit from South. From Central, we have the water polo team and the girls track team. And then we also have the Scholar Bowl team from West, and then our district step team. So now for our honorees. From South High, coached by Coach Andrew Wallace. We had at South High the Class 2 Misha Girls State Champion in the 135-pound weight class, Janiyah Jones. And Janiyah Jones won the state title with a 12-6 decision. And this season she had a record of 32-2, and her career record at South for 4 years was 134-19. So she had an excellent career, concluding with the state championship. Next at South, we have our back-to-back Class 2 girls state champion swimming and dive team, and Coach Mathis, I think, is here. Coach Mathis and her assistant, Elizabeth Andrews, just had an outstanding season. The South girls won with a school record in the 400-yard relay in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and those members were Lexi Cook, Alana Henich, Mia Muckerman, and Kylie Sullivan. South also won the 200-yard medley relay in both the school and state record with 1 minute and 44 seconds with Lexi Cook, Alana Henich, Lucy Price, and Kylie Sullivan. Also, Coach Mathis coached Kylie Sullivan as our area swimmer athlete of the year. She was state champion and state record holder now in the 200 IM and the 100-meter butterfly. Kylie was one of the most decorated swimmers in state history. She boasts a 4.1 GPA, and she will attend Mizzou in the fall. So congratulations on the girls' state swimming team. Also at South, girls state track champions, coached by Bob Klebold. We actually had 2 athletes in the Misha Class L para participation, and we had Josie Portel actually win the 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter, and 800 meter, all in the para events. And she was pushed closely by her teammate, Mia Balia, and who was runner-up in those same 4 events. So they took 1 and 2 in the para sprint and distance events at the state meet. Now, we move on to Central, and we have our district and state champion water polo team, coached by Andrew Shanoff. And I don't know if we have any water polo members here. Okay, come on up, gentlemen. Water polo team had an outstanding season. They posted a 26-3 record. They defeated SLU in a very, very difficult championship match. They defeated them 19-11, and they also avenged an early season loss to SLU in the championship match. So the water polo team did an outstanding job, and Peyton and Alexander were both key members of that team. Continuing on with Central's championships, girls track, coached by Coach Banta. The girls track team had a 4-event state champion, Sky Lee. Sky scored 40 points at the state meet. That is the most by a single athlete. Sky won the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the 100-meter hurdles in both a state and school record, and the 300-meter hurdles. Her 40 points were the most scored by a single competitor, and her 100-meter hurdle time is ranked as one of the top times in the nation. So she had an outstanding year. And also, Coach Banta, who's done an outstanding job for us for many years, was also inducted into the Missouri Coaches Hall of Fame. So Central Track, an outstanding job. And now for our district step team, if they would come up. So if we could have the members of the step team. The step team is coached by Ms. Covington James. There she is. Coach, if you want to come up. Hi. So I'm going to read some accolades, and then we'll call out everybody's name that's present. Okay. So some of the highlights from the STEP team this year. First, I want to acknowledge Coach's assistants, Coach B.J. James, Coach Latham, Coach Melvin Bond, Coach Bianca James, Coach Middleton, Coach Courtney Bond, Coach Taylor Wilson, and Coach Maisa Harling. They've done an outstanding job coaching our STEP team. And some of the highlights from our STEP team this year, they've amassed back-to-back undefeated seasons. They were featured on Channel 5. And it was a wonderful highlight on them on the way to competing at the National Step Championship in Florida, which our STEP team won and came away with the victory at the National Step Team event. And Coach James is actually going to name out each of the students that are present.
Oh, that are present. Okay. All right. This is my list. Okay, so today we have Dorian Bailey, who is our captain. Let's see. And I'm just going to name all of them, and then when you hear your name, just come on up, okay? So we have Tristan Banks. She's outside? She's walking in right now. Okay. Deja Blackwell. Not here yet. Simone Boyd. Jaden Casely Hayford. Anaya Combs. Aaliyah Crenshaw, Zion Davis, Elizabeth Franklin, Kaylee Freeman, Deshawn Gant, India Griffin, Jelana Grimes, Stephen Harold, Jemiah Johnson, Jordan Johnson, Kamora Jones, Martha Kamau, Caden Lucas, Mackenzie Marshall, Shania McRoberts, London McWilliams, Kaya Morgner, Morgan Robinson, Peyton Robinson, Abria Smith, Kamaya Stovall, Mark Stovall, Kira Thompson, Nyla Thompson, Trinity Valiant, Dawn West, Travion West, and Chris Williams, and Chanel, come on up. And did Tristan come up already? Did she make it in yet? All right. That was a lot of hand clapping. We really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I would also like to acknowledge our coaches who are here. We have our co-director, who is Adrian Lathan, soon to be Adrian Lathan Cockrell. And Bianca James is here. Yes. She's really the force that pushed them to first place. We cannot do this without her. And the loud mouth in the room that pushes them to first place that just walked in is BJ James. Thank you.
And as everyone can tell, our step team just really lights up the room every time they perform. They just do a wonderful, wonderful job. Next up, we have the South High dance team, coached by Coach Shank. We may have some South dance members present. This season, the South High dance team did an outstanding job. They won the MDTA division, which is Missouri Dance Team Association, Division 5 Hip Hop. They won the state championship in that this spring in Kansas City, and with a total of 253 points, the team outdistanced the second place team by almost 12 points. And the team just did an outstanding job. Members here present of that team, Aaliyah Carver, Clara Morrison, Azura Tiggs, Audrey Feltz, Avery Schaefer, Sophie Nye, Lily Dietz, Sophia Clayton. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
Okay. Brooke Andrusek, Addie Bogad, and Jolie Spencer.
Good job, Coach. Now for the West High Scholar Bowl team. Coach Troy and the Scholar Bowl members can come up. Do we have any Scholar Bowl members present? The West Scholar Bowl team did an outstanding job in the Misha Classic State Championship this year. Head coach Troy led the team at the state meet, and the state meet they defeated in the semifinals Springfield Kickapoo, and then came back in the finals and competed against St. Joe Central. And in the championship, the team scored 110 points, outdistancing St. Joe Central by almost 100 points. The team won every match at the state tournament, and they averaged 117 points, and they did an outstanding job for the State Scholar Bowl Championship. And for Scholar Bowl, it is a student-based quiz bowl, which is in the which reminds you of Jeopardy, but the schools are on teams, and they go through a round of questioning, and they have a time limit, and the clues that they're given, they go from difficult clues to the simpler clues, but the longer it takes you to answer the question, that determines how many points you get. So our students at West did an outstanding job. Here in closing, we're not only proud of our state champions and their accomplishments, but we're also proud of them for the exemplifying leadership, perseverance, and capability. I'd like to say good luck to all of our seniors next year, and I'd also like to recognize all the parents of our state champions, because without your support and time and encouragement, we couldn't do this. So we had outstanding winter and spring seasons, and thank you.
Thank you, Corey. For our last recognition of the evening, please welcome Chris Donaldson, the industrial technology teacher at West High.
Thank you, President Todd, Dr. Marty, and members of the board. It's an honor to be here tonight to help recognize our students. First, I want to share that we have 4 competitive teams at West High and a non-competitive group. Our work helps prepare our students for the workforce and helps prime the STEM career pipeline. We participate in competitions at the local, regional, state, and the international levels. Our team members also provide STEM education outreach. We're making a difference in our students, and our students are making a difference in our community. So thank you. Tonight we recognize 2 of our competitive teams, Blue Brains, team number 5430A, and Memory Leak, team number 5430C. Our Blue Brains team, here, won't you go on the Blue Brains teams, you can come on up. Our Blue Brains team is the 2023 Missouri VEX Robotics State Champion. They advanced to the 2023 VEX Robotics Championships, which is also known as Worlds. Worlds is a 3-day international tournament that's hosted in Dallas, Texas, and boasts 800 of the best teams from 40 countries. They also advanced to the 2023 Create US Open Robotics Championship, which is known as CREATE. And CREATE is a 3-day international tournament that's hosted in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and boasts 500 of the best teams from the US, from Canada, the UK, and Taiwan. The Blue Brains earned their spot in the top 4% in the world of all teams who competed in the VEX Robotics competition all year, and that's out of 11,500 teams from 40 different countries. So please join me in giving a round of applause. These members include Joseph Britt, Anushka Dharmasan, Catherine Hanses, and a few who couldn't be here for family travels, that's Sawyer Ladd, Isaac Porter, and Esther Young. Please, again, give them a round of applause. Our Memory Leak team has 2 major accomplishments this season as well. After multiple wins at the regional level, Team Memory Leak earned their ticket to the 2023 Create US Robotics Championship and advanced to the quarterfinals. As a reminder, the Create is a 3-day international tournament that hosted in Council Bluffs, Iowa, boasts 500 of the best teams from US, Canada, UK, and Taiwan. Memory Leak earned their spot in the top 6% of all teams in the world who competed in the VEX robotics competition all year. And again, that's out of 11,500 teams from 40 different countries. Memory Leak, why don't you come on up? This includes Ethan DeLuca, Caden Kelly, Grant Kilpatrick, Andrew Hazelau, Chris Roy, Jake Rushing, and Shiv Sharma. Our successes would not have been possible without the strong support of West High, our administration, our staff, the consistent support of our Parkway School District, and the tenacious and unwavering support of their families. So thank you very much.
Congratulations again to the schools that were recognized tonight, and especially to all of our students for their many achievements this year. We'll now take a quick recess and resume our meeting shortly. continue on. That was great. A lot of great recognitions tonight. Next up are additions, corrections, and/or modifications. Those include 7.01, addendum to agenda item 11.17, approval of personnel items, and 7.02, agenda item 11.18, approval of Kelly Education Service rate approval pulled from the agenda. Next up is public comments. It's during this time we provide an opportunity for citizen comments in an effort to maintain an open and respectful dialogue with our community. Public comment session is not the appropriate forum for addressing individually identifiable student and/or personnel matters. Therefore, due to privacy laws protecting students and employees, comments about these matters should not include personally identifiable information about particular students or employees. Members of the public, staff, and students are encouraged to utilize established policies and procedures for offering suggestions or addressing concerns and complaints prior to bringing the issue before the board. Please be mindful that the meetings of the board, including your statements at the podium, are broadcast and that you are responsible for any public comments you make. In lieu of public statement, you may choose to submit your comments to the board in writing. Also, due to the time constraints and the need to complete the primary responsibilities of our meeting agenda, we cannot respond during the meeting, so you will receive a response from us in writing. We're always available to have an open dialogue outside of our meetings and can be reached by email or phone using the contact information on the Parkway website. Tonight, let me look. Looks like we only have one speaker signed up. That is Karen Ashinger. You will have 3 minutes to complete your remarks, and just let us know how you're affiliated with Parkway.
Swim Club, Karen Ashinger, a parent.
Okay.
Okay, less than a year ago, I received an email about a possible Parkway-Rockwood merger. This proposal was initiated by Superintendent Keith Marty and Community Ed Director Mike Seppi. At that time, I was wondering, why does the superintendent and director want this, encourage this, and push this? Will the parents and swimmers have a voice? It didn't make sense. Does Keith Marty or Mike Seppi currently have Parkway Swim Club members or swimmers? How much do they know about the Parkway Swim Club and the priceless teaching and learning that goes on 6 days a week for 12 to 14 hours? Why would two people want to end the Parkway Swim Club by merging with another very large club? I have 2 high school swimmers. We don't live in this district, nor do they swim for a high school. Parkway Swim Club has been invaluable to my children. Our family is against this possible merger. Merging 2 large teams does not serve the interests of the Parkway Swim Club or Rockwood Swim Club. There are no advantages to a merged team. This possible merger would not provide an enhanced experience for swimmers while creating something special for swim families and the St. Louis region, as stated at the Aquatics Informational Night. Major concerns are travel time and distance to practice. We do not live in the district, and the Parkway National Group would practice at Lafayette High School in the morning and evening, possibly 3 days a week, maybe more. This is difficult, inconvenient, and unnecessary. Another concern is the size of the team, swimmer count per meet, and competition. This possible merger would create an enormous team, which would increase the number of swimmers by the hundreds at meets and decrease the possibility of other teams participating at all meets. A bigger team is not a better team. The training philosophy is different for each team. Our family trusts the process of Parkway's training. This possible merger is not an improvement to either team. Transparency is important to swimmers, parents, and coaches of the Parkway Swim Club. The leadership initiating this merger has not been transparent with coaches, swimmers, or parents. Parkway Board of Education, ask yourself these questions. What if this was happening to your kid's swim team, your grandchildren's swim team, your niece or nephew's swim team? What if this was your kid's basketball team, tennis team, soccer team, lacrosse team, football team, track team, baseball team, softball team? How would you feel? What would you do? Would you fight to keep the team? Parents are against the possible merger. Swimmers are against the possible merger. Coach Chris stood up against this possible merger and left Parkway. Some families have already left Parkway Swim Club. Parkway School Board, elected by the people, we need you to stand up and do what's right. Stand up for our kids and our parents and our coaches. Show us your commitment to Parkway parents and students. End these possible merger discussions and meetings. This may be the most important decision you make for Parkway. Keep the Parkway Swim Club and Rockwood Swim Club separate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is 10.01, calendar of meetings. Next regular board meeting will take place on Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, beginning at 7 p.m. at the Parkway Welcome Center. means you guys have July off.
All right.
Yeah, we should do that. We'll approve the agenda now, because I skipped over that. 9.0, approval of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education as scheduled for June 14th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is board and superintendent reports. So, start with
I'll just be very brief. It's been a fun month into the school year, and especially with graduations. Had the honor to participate in 3 of the graduations. It's just a fun time. The students are happy, the parents are happy, their friends are happy. It's just a fun time to be part of the Parkway, and it's one of the benefits of being on the school board too, is to be part of those joyful occasions.
And I will second what you said about the graduations. The end of the school year was all a great time. I also had an opportunity to participate in 3 of our graduations, and they were all amazing events. And I am really proud of our students, our teachers, and our staff for all that they have accomplished in this past year. In addition to all of those activities, those last days of school activities, Mrs. Hopper and I also attended the St. Louis School Board PLC, Professional Learning Community, on June 3rd, so after school ended. And it was attended by several other school districts in the area, and this was the first time I've had the opportunity to attend this event. I thought that getting together with other school boards within the community and talking about very similar issues that we might all be facing was very valuable. So I'm looking forward to continuing that. And I just want to say, it was really great to see all the kids here. But the good thing for me about seeing all the kids was that I actually knew some of them. And that's what I love about being part of the schools and part of the district is seeing my kids grow up and seeing their friends grow up.
Well, obviously, I want to begin by wishing everyone a happy Flag Day. Glad you could make us part of your celebration here. Like my colleagues here, it's the end of the year is not a huge time for board activities, but I was only invited to 2 graduations, not like the 3 my colleagues were, but those continue to be kind of the highlight of this experience as a board member. It's, you see the culmination, we're here every month, we're involved in lots of things, but then you see the culmination of it all, and how happy and the families are, the kids are, and it's just great to be a part of that.
A couple of other things that I did, in addition to the other things mentioned, was on last week there was a State Board of Education meeting that Dr. Marty attended in person. This was one of the agenda items was a hearing from the Success Ready Network, specifically the System Design Zone superintendents and participants to present their case on requesting a waiver for the school district, for these participating school districts to do away with the MAP testing and instead go to a different type of competency-based measurements that are done throughout the year. The state board did not make a decision that particular day. They will rehear it and make a decision probably sometime in August, and then there will be several steps beyond that that will be necessary in order for this to be approved. And Dr. Marty, we thank you for having attended that. Parkway is one of those participating school districts requesting the waiver. So over time, as things progress, we'll hear more on that. Also, last week was the Special School District Governing Council meeting. In addition to the important tasks of approving the CSIP, the budget, and some budget adjustment items, we also did a Board of Election for the Sub-District 1, which we had an impasse on at the prior meeting. So we had 3 candidates come to us this meeting, and Sub-District 1 represents Hazelwood, Jennings, and Maplewood, Richmond Heights school districts. There were 3 candidates, including an incumbent, 2 including, plus the incumbent. And I'm pleased to announce that Ms. Carmen Staten is the new Special School District Board of Education Director now, representing Sub-District 1. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I too will also echo the remarks about graduation. It's one of the things that I look forward to the most as a board member. Just recognizing those kids that have made it all the way through and seeing their faces as they get their diplomas and how excited they and their families are. I will also add that I missed some of our graduations here in St. Louis because I was out of town at my niece's graduation, where she was one of 1,059 students in her high school class, and the length of speeches was longer than any of our graduations in their entirety. So I was happy to sit in Parkway graduation. Yesterday, I stopped by the Chartwell's food truck. If you haven't heard, Chartwell's is serving meals to students under the age of 18. Different parts of the district on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I think they're up at Fern Ridge High School. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're at 840 Delmonico Drive, which is just south of Parkway South High School. And they had a great selection. They had vegetarian options. They had, I think he said yesterday, they had about almost 24 kids show up and get a free lunch. So obviously our students are taking advantage of that, those who need it. And then lastly, I want to recognize Paul Tandy, who is kind of covertly there in the back. But Paul has been with Parkway School District for 23 years. Tonight is his last official board meeting that he's being paid to attend. Maybe he'll show up at a future board meeting. But Paul has been a friend of many in the district and has been a mentor to many and led a great number of people to wonderful things in this district, and has led this district through many, many phases and through the evolution of Parkway over the last almost quarter century. Kind of put it in perspective there. But Paul, we're going to miss Paul. Paul has certainly been a friend of the board, every board of education. He's worked closely with the board on a number of things. And the thing, there's a quote that makes me think about Paul. He's one of these people that fits this quote, and that is, don't think of retiring from the world until the world will be sorry that you retire. And that is very true about Paul. Paul could have retired 10 or 15 years ago, and we all would have been sorry then, but we're especially sorry to see you go, but we wish you so much happiness and joy in your retirement. So congratulations.
And Jeff, you forgot to let everybody know that there was actually a Paul Tandy Day in Manchester.
I had, yep, on
Last
June
week
5th.
it was honored by the Manchester City Council, and last Tuesday was Paul Tandy Day in Manchester. So who gets a day, right? A few items I just like to echo. I really, talking to some of my colleagues, we always talk about how graduations went. And I just want to say, I really thought our graduates this year were just superb. Their speeches, their conduct, their respect. I think sometimes young people get unjustly criticized, but I thought our graduates were optimistic, they're hopeful, they're looking forward to their lives after high school. Some of them got great ambitions. So I think the public needs to know that we got great kids, and we saw that this year at our graduations. I also had the pleasure to speak and then be at the adult education, our Parkway Adult Education graduation last week. And that too, in many respects for me, is a very emotional night, because we're talking about adults, many who, we had a grandmother getting her high school equivalency. We had several people who had, really overcame amazing struggles and difficulties, and were there with their families. It was a full house at Central Middle, and it's just a great night to see people still pursuing lifelong learning, and really, again, it kind of strikes you in the heart that people still want to be educated, get that high school equivalency at maybe the 30, 40, 50, maybe in the grandmother's case, over 60 years old. So it was just a wonderful night. We had about 27 graduates who were there, and just a recognition of some wonderful people who've worked very, very hard. As Mrs. Hopper said, I was at the state board meeting. The State Board was very receptive. It was about an hour and a half worth of presentation by the committee. I do want to point out that we had Dr. Beckner, Dr. Holman Bess, and Carter Snow that worked with that committee all year long, and their work has been well appreciated. I know they put a lot of time in, and we think the State Board, hopefully at their August meeting, will approve the waiver request, which then goes to U.S. Department of Education for further analysis. We started summer school on Monday at our schools. Our superintendent's action team members were out and about. I think we all had, it was like school was starting. And I had the experience of helping jumpstart the kindergarten students into their school. So it was, for many of them, their first experience in our school. So it was a great day. And so we have a number of programs underway at our schools over the summer. Our North High School band is, I think they may be back home, but they were in Hawaii. And we're at Pearl Harbor and performed. We got some pictures. Tiffany Bess's secretary, one of the parents, chaperoned, and so we got a lot of views and what was going on there. But just shows, there's a lot of opportunities for our children here over the summer. We do have Juneteenth. We will not. Our office will be closed on Monday for Juneteenth. And let's see. I think that covers what I needed to cover. And I did want to point out, as Jeff did, the Chartwell's opportunity. That is a wonderful opportunity for people who want to pursue a lunch. I think that goes until the 30th. Goes the entire month of June. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the approval of our consent agenda. We have a pretty healthy list, which we've all had an opportunity to review. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the June 14th, 2023 board materials?
So moved.
Second?
Is there anything to be pulled to action or closed? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Next up, I'd like to invite Carter Snow, Coordinator of Student Assessment, to join us here at the podium.
President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Mrs. Stover, good evening and happy summer to you. Our wonderful evening of celebrations continue as we get to make a hard transition to the Comprehensive Assessment Plan. I'm happy to present next year's Comprehensive Assessment Plan for consideration. This plan aims to ensure a balanced assessment system that provides students and educators the information necessary to foster student achievement and growth. Data from these assessments are used to understand student mastery of Missouri and Parkway learning standards, as well as monitor achievement of goals related to our Parkway strategic plan. Next year's plan contains important changes necessary to ensure students are developing foundational reading skills and meeting or exceeding growth goals during the school year. There's a few changes to next year's plan that I'm going to highlight here just briefly. One of those changes is the adoption of NWEA MAP growth. NWEA allows us to monitor student achievement and growth on state standards longitudinally from kindergarten all the way through 10th grade next year. Monitoring both achievement and growth will allow us to monitor the impact of our instructional programs and better respond to student need while being aligned with the performance metrics of MSIP 6. Practically speaking, it allows us to ensure that our highest performing students are continuing to grow, and our students who may not be on grad level yet are growing towards that high standard, and opportunities for us to celebrate student growth, even if they're not on standard yet. It also allows us as a metric potentially to be a part of that Success Ready Student Network as an assessment that would serve as that replacement potentially for MAP, as we demonstrate that we can use these assessments to foster student achievement and growth and serve an accountability purpose for our school district and for our state. One of the other changes we're looking at, given your adoption of the plan, is adoption of NWEA reading fluency. That assessment will serve as our Senate Bill 681 required screening and progress monitoring tool for early literacy in grades kindergarten through 3rd. The reading fluency assessment is an adaptive assessment that monitors phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, as well as screening for characteristics of dyslexia. These early reading skills are essential, and the ability to quickly identify areas of concern and support students with the right instruction and intervention is essential to our mission. So in conclusion, implementing a comprehensive assessment plan will allow us to closely monitor student progress and quickly respond to areas of needed improvement while celebrating areas of success with all stakeholders. So thank you for your consideration of this plan. I look forward to any questions you might have.
The only question I have is, now that we're moving to a different assessment tool using the NWEA, will there be information that kind of explains why, if there's differences in evaluating results from this new one from prior years?
Sure. So in addition to maybe parents, students, educators maybe seeing a small difference in terms of level of performance and achievement, there's also a lot of information for us to learn and share with all stakeholders around growth, because it hasn't necessarily been a large part of the conversation. So when parents get those results back, when teachers, when students get the results, in addition just to seeing how they're doing on an achievement perspective, which is closely actually aligned to our Missouri MAP test. So there is that comparison of projection of we're on track to be basic or below basic, proficient or advanced. They'll also have that new metric of growth. So we'll be sharing that information with all stakeholders and helping them understand what their growth numbers mean, because it is a nationally normed test. It is a percentile. And so what is appropriate growth, what is enough growth to continue to be on state standards, I think are all questions that our stakeholders will have and will certainly want to be sharing with them.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the 2023-24 Comprehensive Assessment Plan as presented in the June 14th, 2023 board meeting materials.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please, Nikki.
Mrs. Hopper?
Yes.
Ms. Mapp Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Next, we need to approve the purchase.
Yeah, so just asking for the approval of the purchase, in this case, of the AP tests and the Missouri School, ACT and AP tests. Those are the ones we need approval for tonight. Sorry, thank you.
Any questions about that? Okay, thank you. May I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve ordering materials and scoring services for the following assessments: the ACT state and district testing estimated at $94,000. These funds would come from the 2024 assessment program budget. The funds for the AP exam estimated at $254,900 will come from the 2023-2024 Parkway High School's activity accounts.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hopper?
Yes.
Ms. Mapp Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. You look like you're going to get up. Welcome Patty Bedborough, our CFO.
Thank you. So last month, we presented to the board all of the major components of our 23-24 budget, along with some future planning. During this past month, we produced our budget book that gives a thorough analysis of this upcoming year and some of our future planning as well. Are there any questions?
I just have one question for each page.
Okay. Let me see if I can help you with that.
No, actually, again, you make it so we can understand it, and I don't have any questions for any of the 153 pages.
I like that you included pictures of all of us, particularly Matt and I during our childhood.
That is compliments of Nikki Otten, my assistant.
To Jeff's point, I mean, I think I used it for my bedtime reading a couple nights.
Put him right to sleep.
But I have to say, Patty captured so much, and what I really appreciate about her leadership is, I mean, it wraps around, it's not just about money and budget and figures, it's about where it ties to our mission, where it ties to students, where it ties to our future, our strategic plan. I mean, Patty, I've told you this a couple of times, I think it's a wonderful summary, but also where we're headed, and I think you project very, very well. You know, when I think about, when I first got to district, and we were not in terrible shape, but we had some rough times to dealing with some deficit spending, and Patty's work to build that fund balance, but also to really make sure that our decisions are on staffing and some other things are very thoroughly assessed, and she certainly uses our SAT members to do that, is very complimentary. So I don't think we can say enough, when districts think about, in fact, if you think about it, during the candidate forum, we heard nothing about the budget, right? Everybody knows our budget and our finances are in good shape. So compliments to Patty again. I think we're really blessed to have her and her leadership, and she had to replace a very key position this year and has done that, so.
Well, thank you very much, and I do not do this work alone. My fellow SAT members, the support of the board and our superintendent, and the many, many administrators and teachers and everyone else that really contribute to our financial health as well.
I will ask one question.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to give my compliments, because as I was reading through it, you make it so that we can understand where the numbers come from. And I greatly appreciate being able to do that so that we can understand, because we're responsible for making sure our taxpayer dollars are being spent properly, et cetera. So thank you very much for giving all that background. We just recently were informed or heard through news media that there's a potential for a movement to freeze some property taxes of seniors within our district. So as I began wondering about that, has there been discussion within our finance department about what the impact of that might be for our future budgets, and if that in fact were to go through, and how we might advocate on Parkway's behalf as to what the impact of that will be if that does go through?
So first, that is not factored into this budget, because right now, the way that the bill has been written, it is very complicated because it uses general statements such as Social Security eligible. So does that mean when you're 62? When you actually perhaps take Social Security at 65 or 70? So it's very ambiguous. The credits will not be a reduction or a freeze in their assessed valuation. They'll simply be a credit that is issued from the Department of Revenue. So we will have no way of truly tracking it and no way of recouping those lost revenues either. So right now, the governor has not signed that bill, to the best of my knowledge. So our best defense is to clearly get to him and see if we can keep him from allowing that to become law. So we know that St. Louis County, there is a proposal that they are working on to make that available, that credit available to all citizens, where, if this is to support financially struggling, seniors and such, I think you could have a little bit more support around the bill. But this does have some long-term implications for all taxing authorities, not just school districts. But of course, it has great implications for school districts, because it is nothing that we could truly provide an estimate for or recoup those lost revenues. Our only recourse in the future would be to increase our tax rates in order to recapture additional funds that we need.
Debbie, can I just comment that with Patty's help, I did ask Councilman Harder, who had introduced some questions. I have not got a lot of response, but we do have some serious questions and concerns about the proposal. And I think you've had communication with your colleagues.
Mm-hmm. We've been communicating and see really how best to address it or fight it, etc. So, like I said, the bill in itself is just really poorly written. That it'd be hard to deploy and to really enact evenly, if you will, with each and every jurisdiction as well. And it's up to each county to enact their portion. They can make it more restrictive. St. Louis County right now Councilman Harder's office believes that they have to adopt it exactly as written. So it's just going to be complicated. It may possibly, have a lot of litigation that happens, over the next several years if it does go into enactment too. So it is troublesome.
And what I really appreciated, on page 20 of your report, it shows all the different tax rates of the various different school districts. And it's very pleasing to see that Parkway is one of the lowest tax rate districts. And yet we're number 5 out of like 20-something districts, and yet we're still able, through the fiscally sound practices that we have and some of the policies that we have in place to increase our fund rate over time, that we're still able to provide a very high-quality education and all the various different activities and clubs and Misha sports that we can support in music education programs. So if that changes matters, it's kind of disturbing to see where some of these other higher tax districts are not as successful and have issues. And now they're a little bit more their poverty levels are higher than ours also. So there's some difference, but it really is it's really reassuring to see that we can have such a low tax rate and yet still be able to provide high quality education and activities here in our district.
I think we do have to compliment our community. I mean, 88% of that, that's why this legislation is concerning, because 88% of our budget is local revenues. And certainly our community has always been supportive of education, and we're fortunate to have also a very, a solid base of commerce and businesses that support us as well. Some districts don't have that level of revenues.
Good point.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the 2023-2024 expenditure budget as presented in the administration in the amount of $332,490,573, with $94,222,718 to be expended from the general fund, $165,071,304 from the special revenue fund, $46,589,366 from the capital projects funds, and $26,607,185 from the debt service fund.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nikki.
Mrs. Hopper?
Yes.
Ms. Matt Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer?
How much did you say was from the capital projects fund?
Around 46 million.
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dr. Tiffany Holman-Bess and Dr. Beckner joining us to talk about the CSIP.
Well, good evening. We've had the opportunity multiple times over the past 6 months to bring you the comprehensive school improvement plan. We've received your feedback from numerous groups, including our educators, our Project Parkway Steering Committee, members of our community, our leadership. We're happy to present that tonight, and we ask now for your approval, noting that we have not had any significant changes since the last time the board had the opportunity to provide feedback on that plan, and we look forward to your consideration. We're happy to address any additional questions you might have.
I'm sorry, I did have one question.
Go ahead.
And it was about, I'm trying to pull it up, goal 2, I think, objective 2. The first one. I thought before there was a measurement that we would have in there, and I didn't see it in this one. So by June 2024, students in grades 2 through 8 will read on grade level or meet reading growth targets.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. We have new measures coming on board, and so we do not have an exact number. We left an asterisk there because we'll be comparing our achievement against a different measure that we are unfamiliar with just yet. And so we will do some level setting throughout the year and adjust that goal accordingly.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to let the board know and the public know that our schools are also doing their CSIPs. Maybe you just want to comment on that. They've been busy in early June here.
So last week, June 6th and 7th, we did convene all of our schools to start their actual annual CSIP process. And we did it a little bit differently this year when we invited their teams. Normally it's our administrators and then they go out to the teachers, but we had them invite teacher leaders. Excited to say that all of our schools had leaders with them from their building to begin this work, looking at their data. We provided them with the help of Dr. Carter Snow and our PMCs. Data for them to begin looking at to start developing their own goals and objectives that are aligned to the district's CSIP that will hopefully be approved. And so they were all here in this room over the course of 2 days by area, and so we were excited to have them with us doing that work.
And I will just add that I don't personally have any questions, just because we have been working at this so diligently over the past number of months, and I know several of us on the steering committee, we're hearing it over and over, which is not a bad thing.
Right.
But that gives us the confidence to move forward. So, any other questions? Okay. Thank you all very much. May I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the mission-focused goal, objectives, strategies, and district actions for the 2023-2024 CSIP as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hopper?
Yes.
Ms. Mapp Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Next up, we have policy review, which I will read. It includes 13.01 IGCD virtual courses, 13.02 IGCDA full-time MOCAP virtual courses, 13.03 BDDB agendas. Do any board members have any questions about these policies? Okay. Again, for everybody's understanding, we've had a number of opportunities to review these policies, and we will continue doing that. The policies will be up for approval at the next Board of Education meeting in August. We have no official reports tonight, but we do have a work session. So I'd like to invite Erin Schulte, Coordinator of School Counseling and Character Education, and Sherry Magaja, Director of Social Emotional Support Services, to join us.
Good evening, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover. Thank you so much for taking a moment of this meeting to hear our initial plan for our comprehensive review of each of our groups that we oversee. You see them there on the board: school counselors, school social workers, care coordinators, social emotional behavior specialists. Ms. Magaja and I have been working together in tandem this year to really make this a Parkway mental health team. We very much view this as a continuum of care for our students, and we plan to do this comprehensive review in that fashion. So I think you'll see that a bit as we speak tonight. But those are the groups of folks we'll be talking about. As my title suggests, I will be focused on the school counselors. Oops. So when we look at this as a continuum, and some of you I know are familiar with the multi-tiered systems of support, some of you may not be, but we can think about school counselors as serving all students. So tier 1, we have a curriculum. We have every student who is assigned a school counselor. So we serve all students. We also serve some students who maybe need a little bit more than that tier 1 than what Tier 1 offers them. And so when we look at this school counseling review, we propose to use the following resources. First and foremost, we want to use DESE. They have a Missouri School Counseling Program Manual. They have an entire model guidance curriculum that we follow, and we want to be sure we're looking at that. We also propose to look at the American School Counselor Association's national model. This is our national organization that governs, and there's also a Missouri branch of that as well. Myself and many of your school counselors also here in Parkway are members of both of those organizations. We propose to do surveys and focus groups, and that I think is where we'll get to a lot of the different populations that we serve. So we'd like to, be out there talking to parents. We'd like to talk to students. We also want to talk to the mental health professionals themselves. So surveying and focus groups with school counselors, the folks doing this work and in the trenches there. And certainly as it is a continuum, our groups of folks work together. And so we want to make sure we're talking to those other mental health groups that you saw on the slide prior, to see, their thoughts and feelings and their experiences with the services that school counselors are providing. And then finally, and just to stress it, Ms. McGeiger and I are collaborating almost every single day, but we really do view this as both of our report, and not two separate things that I'm doing, the school counselors, and she's doing all of her groups, but we're really going to intentionally work in tandem to provide this comprehensive review. I have already completed some focus groups and surveys to get where we are today, to get some of the big main topics that really came up and came to light. And so we've had focus groups with all levels of school counselors to just talk about the comprehensive review, to talk about where we would want to focus, what kinds of questions and issues we'd want to investigate. We have also done surveys with school counselors, principals, and APs. They're really important because they know what's going on in their building. They know how their buildings function, and oftentimes I think 100% of the time, are the evaluators for the school counselors as well. And then we also want to include, or we have already included, the other mental health staff that I named before. So these are the big questions that kind of rose to the top in that work that we've been doing so far, and just the big topics that came up. So thinking about what is the role of the school counselor, and what should that be, in what ways in Parkway do we meet those standards, and in what ways are we not meeting them? I think both are important to look at, and maybe even get into the why of those. We also want to know, what do school counselors spend their time doing? Every month since I've had this job, the school counselors are asked to audit their time. Not every single day, but for a few days out of the month, they audit their time and provide a report. We call it the time and task analysis, and they do this according to the Missouri Model Comprehensive Guidance Program. So they're asked to put their time into 4 different categories of how they're spending their time. So I imagine I'll be using that data, but I also imagine I'll be using some anecdotal data from the school counselors themselves, perhaps from the principals as well, even teachers, and even parents and students, of like, how are you being served by your school counselor? We want to know, what are the day-to-day mental health needs of students, and how well are school counselors meeting these needs? So we know that the mental health of our students, actually before COVID, wasn't real great. We had a whole mental health task force around it. That's where we were before the big pandemic happened. And then we had this big event happen in our world. And now the landscape is totally different than it was even back then. So that all has changed, and we want to look more into what are the actual needs that our students are facing. How well are Parkway school counselors meeting those needs? Also, since we had that mental health task force, we also added a lot of new positions. So we now have care coordinators. We have, different people in all of these roles. And so looking at what are those needs, and, specifically for my part, how are school counselors meeting or not meeting those needs? And then, as I said before, what is the current continuum of care for mental health in Parkway, and what is that best practice of a school continuum of care as we look at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 needs of students? What do they need? What is the best practice for a school district to have with regard to that? In what ways are we doing well with that? And in what ways are we lacking, or what gaps do we need to fill as a mental health team? And then finally, the other last big question that came up was, how can Parkway school counselors be more effective in their role as counselors? I am biased, and I personally think we do a great job, but I also always strive to be better. And so I think there's always improvements we can make, and a big question I think we could ask is just, how could we be more effective? How could we be better? Because that's something we're always asking. When I did these focus groups and we did these surveys, those were kind of the big questions that came up. Some of the big topics that came up that I imagined that perhaps would be within the answers to the questions as we get into the investigation of them. The role of the school counselor in academic testing. So we had a testing coordinator come and speak about that. That's how big that is in our district. We know that students take all kinds of academic tests for all kinds of different reasons. Some are required, some are optional. The school counselors do currently play a role in pretty much every academic test that students are taking. And so what is that role? What should it be? And what are our schools doing right now with regard to that and the school counselor? The next one that came up was the role of the school counselor with the IEP and 504 processes separately. So again, currently they are a part of those things. They don't take the lead on them, but they are spending a good bit of time with those things. And so again, thinking about, and again, when we get into the how do school counselors spend their time, I imagine that'll be part of the answer for you. And then finally, the role of the school counselor and students who are refugees and or English language learners. We know that we're receiving a lot more students from other places. And so the school counselors certainly take a role in welcoming those students and helping make sure that they have what they need. And so I imagine that would be a topic you could expect to come up as well. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Sherry Magaja, the Director of Social Emotional Support Services.
Greetings, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty and Ms. Stover. Thank you for your time to share about our district comprehensive social work care coordinator, social emotional behavior specialist comprehensive review plans. And as Dr. Schulte highlighted, the needs of some of our students include brief intervention and support. Additionally, though, a few students may have more elevated needs and require specialized skills to enhance the strengths and assist in meeting their social, emotional, and mental health needs. Therefore, I'm honored to expand upon the Counseling Comprehensive Review by outlining the social work care coordinator and what we refer to as the SEB, Specialist Comprehensive Review. In preparation, planning, and to inform recommendations, numerous sources will be utilized, as several are listed. I believe, however, that the greatest method of which to learn from will be in listening to those providing the specialized services in our region, in our community, and here at Parkway. As you may remember, I completed a social work targeted review this school year, and as recommended, a combined comprehensive review to include our 3 specialty staff roles. In doing so, I gathered a multidisciplinary team together to collectively determine the areas of which this review would focus. And I also separately met with social workers, care coordinators, and the SEB team to review these main topic areas. After much discussion and collaboration, these are the 4 main topic areas this comprehensive review will cover. Essentially, we'll take a deeper look at our why, our what, and how relating services are provided to our students needing elevated support. The 4 main topic areas are divided into guiding questions in an effort to provide more clarity and focus in this effort. During this comprehensive review, the purpose of these 3 positions will be reviewed, as well as how their roles align or overlap with themselves and with others. Additionally, identifying the organizational structure for referral, potential barriers, and service transfer will also be reviewed. The third main topic area is service delivery, and this is an area of much curiosity. This review will look at how services are provided to students, analyzing if they are preventive and or reactive, delivered in a comprehensive manner, and how the services are removing barriers to ensure wellness of our students. Recognizing our clinical staff are held to their professional code of ethics, this review will look into how we honor ethical requirements such as confidentiality, consent to treat, and being client-centered. And finally, ensuring that the services are delivered through best practices of screening, assessment, clinical skill, and data collection. And finally, the last main topic area is reviewing how quality training is provided to our social workers, our care coordinators, and SEB team to ensure their success. During our discussions with the multiple focus groups, additional questions arose to include: 1, a broader view of the services being provided from the progress monitoring framework through that lens. 2, the allocation of time for specific district investments, such as the food pantry, students in transition, and other supportive services. 3, the curiosity around how we provide mental health support for our adult staff. And 4, clarity of choice and definition as it relates to social, emotional, and mental health terminology. The comprehensive review work started prior to this school year ending, and it will continue at the start of this coming school year. Both Dr. Schulte and I plan to complete each comprehensive review by bringing recommendations to the school board in December. We look forward to the opportunity this work provides for the betterment of our programs and ultimately the services for our students. Ensuring, of course, that all students are capable, curious, caring, and confident learners who understand and respond to the challenges of an ever-changing world. Thank you for your time, and sincerely thank you for your commitment to the wellness of our kids.
Thank you both. Being part of the subcommittee, it's been great to see kind of behind the scenes of the planning and the depth that you all are already engaged in. Obviously, you're already asking some of these questions and working with focus groups, so I'm glad to see that work already going. I was happy to see the mental health support for our staff as one of the items up there. I know so many of our social workers and counselors, you know, they deal with some of the routine things like scheduling classes and helping with that kind of stuff, but they also hear some heavy things and deal with that. And so I think it's important that we make sure we're taking care of them as they're taking care of the kids. So thank you for that.
One question that I do have about your review, will you be within looking at perception on the district mental health supports, will students be surveyed at all to see how they're feeling about their, accessing and counselors and what they're offering, et cetera, to them as students?
Absolutely. I think that their voice is critical, so that they're the ones receiving the services, and so we just want to make sure that they are well and that they're heard in areas that they feel like that we can improve.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you
Thank
both
you.
very much. Okay, we have no special meeting. We have no closed meeting to go into, so may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education call for a special meeting at 7:30 a.m. on Thursday, June 29th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Next, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all for attending.